All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Legend of the Galactic Heroes, episode 80. Yeah, we are officially in the metric system. Fahrenheit is gone. The end has begun. Bittenfeld, good luck going back to Reinhard.
He might be understanding.
Yeah, he might be understanding because, there were some points where he did some damage to Yang's fleet. We don't know exactly how much it was, and it was mostly relegated to Attenborough's little 5,000 ship, crew.
Yeah.
So might not actually be that significant, all things considered. But they do at the very least have the information that, that whole pincer attack, anvil thing that we were supposed to be able to have going on with Mecklinger.
Right.
He wasn't able to apply counter pressure, or at the very least not in a way that we could, detect. So that's at the very least good to know.
Yeah, that was a bit of an issue.
Yeah. But as far as moving forward, I mean, hey, Yang, this is your first big victory. Now you just need to do it 7 more times,
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
No big deal.
Yep. No problem. No problem at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mecklinger also just not being there means that that's info that they're going to have,
Yep. And Yang could at some point just be like, you know what, get a few victories here, and then just bugger off into Empire space.
Yep.
But
now that he knows that's all they've got there,
right.
theoretically.
Yeah, and then he's able to kind of
likely
maneuver them with shows of force. But, okay.
But, yeah, here comes the Empire.
Uh-huh.
So y'all, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. Okay, we got some of the largest fleet battle episode we've ever gotten in the show thus far. There's so many things happening in this episode.
Yeah, a ton of stuff happening. Things are moving very quickly. Before, we had a whole episode dedicated to basically setting up the way that things could go wrong for one of the High Admirals to die.
Right.
Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Now, Steinmetz dies, and I hate to say it, it's almost an afterthought.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it on behalf of Steinmetz as a person in the show, right? That it's just
who's living behind a family.
Yeah, and it's
made a promise to his daughter.
Yeah. Yes, he did. But we're in a big ass battle right now, and this is the final confrontation. Even though it will take a long time to play out, we're here.
We're here.
Okay, let's do this.
Let's do this. I am really excited that Ruenthal and Mittermeier seem to be fully committed in this. Mittermeier, obviously.
Right.
But the difference being that Mittermeier is having to come to grips with some of the weaknesses he has unless he is a bit independent. Now, with the movements of the fleets needing to coordinate with each other, it leads to a little bit of chaos.
Yeah.
Now, chaos in the battlefield is understandable in general, but when you're needing to execute complex tactics beyond just the basic stuff, it leads to a lot of issues.
Right.
And yeah, I don't think that Ruenthal necessarily predicted this, and this was some kind of instinctual way that he thought, I can still have, Reinhard maybe die here on the battlefield or something like that. But I think maybe, if anything, he might have subconsciously wanted to see Reinhard rise to the occasion in the midst of the fight.
Be the glorious leader I know you can be.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like he did exactly at the end. And it broke off a potential loss, basically.
Yep.
Because Yang's fleet broke through the middle and established the middle and basically said, this is our place now, and then they just kept going.
And I gotta say, there's so miscommunication and lack of coordination with regards to the Imperial fleet that allowed Yang's fleet to break through. I get that. That can happen. The Empire's forces it's a massive beast, right? So okay. And it does communicate little fun things of the upper echelons of the Admiralty potentially getting disconnected from the mechanisms of how the details work with just the people in their units, right?
Sure.
Because that's really where the things would start to slow down. Not because you're not smart enough, but it's because you aren't coordinated enough, right? So what does that say? But the fact that then after Yang broke through the main battle line of the Empire, the fact that the other units weren't able to just see on their scanners, hey, they've broken past us. Well, we shouldn't have let that happen in the first place. But you'd think that still it would be pretty easy for them to just sort of turn and start shooting at least as Yang's retreating, right?
Which they probably did do.
They probably did do, and it just wasn't it wasn't
enough.
It wasn't a big enough deal to actually be worth sort of mentioning. It's the yes, obviously there's little bits of attrition that's happening here and there.
Right.
But
and like from what I'm assuming would have happened if they didn't retreat is that Yang bumped up basically against Reinhard, and then Reinhard found the exact point where they would basically be able to break their momentum, but would have actually destroyed him and probably his fleet. He goes, okay, stop them right here, and we'll win this. And he just gets all excited because he realizes, I just predicted the future.
Yep.
I just planned around your plan. I knew exactly what you were going to do.
I
saw you. I beat you right there. That was it. That was it, Yang.
Wait.
What happens if I actually win?
You?
Yeah, what happens? What do I get with absolute victory?
Right, and that was and that is an interpretation and an inference on our part, right?
Of our part, yeah.
But I think that really is what it is, because at first I was kind of confused. I was like, wait,
same, yeah.
Is this because?
Because there's a couple things it could be.
Right, like it could be that he's actually starting to maybe get scared because wait, if I make a mistake and I thought I was going to win it, Amritsar. Right, and I almost died, or like
and Vermilion
failed, right? Vermilion or that's what it was, Vermilion, not Amritsar. Got the names mixed up, but so maybe that's what it is. But then it's like, well, hold on, Reinhard's always been rather courageous and even cavalier about this whole,
like he doesn't really worry about the threat of death.
Basically. Right, he believes in that he is that golden god, right?
Yeah.
And he believed that before, and it didn't end up working out.
Was that him, like, starting to feel his own mortality potentially creeping up on him? He's like,
exactly.
This is going to come down to us squaring off in the battlefield, where it comes down to the dice of fate, where it's just like, oh, could that be it? Or is it what we interpreted? Or is it something else where he realizes, like, oh, something completely different outside the battlefield, and it's something of a follow-up on one of those interpretations that we had where it's he's thinking beyond that of like, but if I die, what happens then? Or if I defeat Yang here, do I, there's a couple things that it could be. But,
right, his mind's racing at a mile a minute. And
he seems a little bit unstable with how he started laughing there.
Yes, and There's two big vibes that I kind of got thematically from him biting his finger. One is the remembering that he's mortal, right? He's not a golden god. I'm flesh and blood, right?
I'm not invulnerable.
Right? I could bite my finger, and if I were to bite too hard, it would actually draw blood, right? I'd see red. But then the other one is the nervousness, right? The, okay, all right. But then also potentially that bit of self-inflicted damage, right? Because now, granted, it's nothing. He's just biting his finger, nothing too crazy. Oh, it's nothing. I'm just maybe getting a little bit worried of what happens after I beat Yang, so maybe I end up not doing the things that I necessarily should or would be best because I want to enjoy this a bit more. But we've seen that in a very short span of time, one of your admiralty's gone. Or one of your admirals, dead.
Just dead.
That's that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am so nervous at this point that we're going to get a Mittermeier death.
Yeah, like
of
that.
All the people that are in the High Admiralty, Fleet Admiral, really. Mittermeier leaving the Brunhild's bridge was the biggest death flag to me.
Yes.
And the idea that this is Ruenthal's plan, I was very worried that it would have been the thing of where he would have been like, no, my plan was flawless. Why did he have to die? Why did he have to die? No. Sure. But thankfully they've pulled back, which means that probably this is going to be the point where Reinhard comes up with a plan. Thankfully, he put Mariendorf in an even more powerful position, so she is going to be directly influencing the strategic levels of the engagement.
Yep.
Not necessarily the tactical ones. Maybe
Right.
giving some thoughts here and there when she's on the bridge. But if she's engaged in the strategic level, that means some of the ways that they engage could be with her pragmatism in mind.
Yes, and she could be a stopper on some of Reinhardt's less helpful tendencies.
And she is like a 160 IQ, just genius.
She's big brain, super smart, 5-head. Yeah.
I'm really, really, really excited that she's getting this opportunity.
Me too.
However, it came about because both Mittermeier and Steinmetz left the
that's true. And
positions
on the topic of Mittermeier, so okay, kind of a random callback, but way back in the beginning of this show, when Reinhard hadn't become Kaiser or anything like that, right? And the old regime was still very much around. There was this whole thing of like, okay, yeah, Yang versus Reinhard, right? What's going to happen? And I had this vibe that at some point, the most sort of prime candidate to send to face Yang, if Reinhard wasn't in a I must do this myself kind of a deal,
right,
is that he would send Mittermeier.
Sure.
Because he's the Gale Wolf, right? It's the like he really does feel like it's the you're one of the shining stars, like twin suns. Go and defeat Yang for me. Yeah. And then that he would die, right? And I'm not entirely sure why I got that vibe, right? But that if Mittermeier were to die at Yang's hands, that would be kind of the that would be the leaving of the sort of fun banter and the sort of flirty starship battles that they'd done until now, where it's we'll form the Ouroboros and cycle around and see how pointless that is and things like that, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Because that's the thinking of rational men.
Okay.
But war is not rational. That's the point. It might start out that way. You might think it's going to be that way, but there comes a point where all of a sudden it gets savage.
Yeah, basically, that's the reason why strategy and tactics are a thing, is that strategy is basically the idea that we come in with this predetermined plan that allows us to make tactics or tactical maneuvers that gives us an extra advantage. However, sometimes the strategy itself is completely countered by the other opponent's strategy.
Yep.
And then it devolves essentially into little tactical maneuvers, which those then devolve into chaos.
Right. No plan survives contact with the enemy. And Reinhard's been shown to be less stable than previously, than how we've known him before. And if Mittermeier were to die, I feel like he's kind of really the glue that keeps Reinhard and his 3 fleet admirals together.
Yep.
Because Oberstein, you're great, but he doesn't like Ruhenthal. Ruhenthal doesn't like him. They don't get along well. Yep. Ruhenthal and Reinhard, they have it's a teeter-totter. It's a seesaw of either a great dynamic or potentially a really bad one, right?
That's fine. Just promote Kessler to fleet admiral, the place where he deserves. That's all you do. There you go.
Yeah.
Suddenly you get this third, just big German Shepherd boy coming in and being like, stop this bullshit in here.
That would be so awesome. I would love it.
If anyone deserves to take the third spot of anyone getting replaced in the fleet admiral, it's Kessler. Kessler absolutely deserves it.
Yeah.
But okay. I want your thoughts on this line here. There's a part where they're having their lovely banter between Mittermeier and Ruhenthal around the table, and he basically says, "Oh, no, you don't have to talk me up all that much, Mittermeier." Right. He's basically saying the great, strategists and the great, battle commanders in this engagement are obviously Mein Kaiser, Yang Wenli, Merkatz, and yourself. And then he says this line: "I'm fortunate that I don't have to fight against 2 of those." Now, that is actually factually inaccurate. Because Mein Kaiser, Yang Wenli, Merkatz, yourself, 2 of those he will be fighting against.
Okay, yeah, I was confused. I was confused at first because I was like, well, you wouldn't count yourself, obviously.
Well, he isn't in this case.
Well,
but Mittermeier is
like, well, right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, Mittermeier's like, well, hold on now.
Now, Mittermeier doesn't immediately see anything weird about it, But he goes like this. He goes, based on your logic.
And he grabs the ear, which could be like a...
The majority of the 5 finest strategies of this era are in our camp.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he kind of has this like awkward hand touching his ear and cheek kind of thing here. But watch Mittermeier's just everything falter here.
And the way the camera zooms in on him, like this next part is very important.
If we all strive for our common goal, our victory is all but assured.
Mm-hmm.
And he realizes something. Shakes his head. Enough, Ruental. Why must we have such an uncomfortable conversation?
And I'm not entirely sure where that came from.
So here's where I think it comes from.
Uh-huh.
He realized what Ruental said of, I'm fortunate that I don't have to face 2 of them.
Right.
But of the 4 that he mentioned, Merkatz and Yang are on the other side, so he is facing 2 of them.
Yeah, so the ones that he doesn't have to face would be Reinhard and Mittermeier.
Right.
Unless he was talking about himself, and then I guess Reinhard would be, one of the people he'd have to face. But
right.
Mm-hmm.
But why mention that at all when you could easily like misconstrue that?
Right. I think that's
that subtle slip of the tongue.
It feels very much like a Freudian slip, where it's like, because the fact he phrased it in the negative rather than the positive.
In the positive,
right?
Exactly.
And it would have been very easy to have just been like, I only have to fight 2 of them, you know? Like, as opposed to, I don't have to fight 2 of them.
Exactly.
Like, that really communicates a lot potentially in where Ruental's mindset is at.
And then you can tell that Mittermeier almost subconsciously felt it, and that's why he gets a little nervous and like starts
too, right?
Right, and has that little bit of that nervous bit here and stuff. But if you think about it in the negative, he basically just said, I'm really glad that I'm not fighting you, Mittermeier.
That's true.
That's basically what he said.
Yeah.
And Mittermeier...
And depending on the tone of that can be great.
That is great.
I'm really glad I'm not fighting you, Mittermeier. It's like, oh, thanks, man.
Oh, thanks, bro.
I'm really glad I'm not fighting you, Mittermeier.
Mm-hmm. Wait.
Where did that come from?
Where did that come from?
Why are we having such an uncomfortable conversation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you could have framed it as I'm really glad that 2 of these ones here are on my side.
Sure. Yeah. And granted,
that's not what he said.
And we are totally getting into the details here.
No,
and
but that's why Mittermeier had to have freaked out there.
Right, exactly.
He's like, why do you keep doing this, man?
Because I don't think this is at all something that Ruental is intending.
No.
Right? Not at all. He probably isn't even thinking about this stuff. But because Mittermeier knows that there has been those points where Ruental has wanted to seize the Empire, and where he did change his, do things differently than how he was ordered, or at least planned to, right?
Yeah.
Although actually we might not have known if Mittermeier knew about that back at their previous battle at Vermilion or whatever. Ruental might not have told him that he was actually planning on doing that. But
I think that the thing that we determined was that the one guy with his fleet basically positioned himself. Bayerlane
was like
under Mittermeier, positioned himself in a specific way to keep Ruental from having even the temptation of it.
Right,
and Mittermeier might have eventually had a report given to him by Bayerlane regarding that.
Maybe, but I wouldn't.
But he doesn't necessarily have to have.
Yeah, exactly. Because
that's a speculative thing.
Bayerlane was doing that as the my superior Mittermeier does not know about this, and I'm doing this of my own accord. And he doesn't necessarily need to know about this, right? Yeah. Because this means nothing if Ruental doesn't have those ambitions. But if he does, then he'll know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Bayerlane is to Mittermeier what Kessler is to Reinhard.
Exactly.
Is a dutiful doggo.
Yep.
And does his best.
Exactly.
But I just love the fact that Mittermeier kind of throws this into Ruental's face of being like, where's this coming from? We had no need for this until just recently.
And like, don't bring all this extra potential stress and stuff into rocking the boat when we're about to go into the most important battle of our lives.
We could die here, man. Like, why are you bringing this up? Mm-hmm. Why are you not with us in this 100%? Like, I get it. This is just a passing thought of yours. You're not like actively scheming anything here. But come on, man. Like, where's your head? And then he basically is like, I'm sorry. I'll get some wine and we can, you know.
Which means
let's have some good wine, and basically saying like, you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
And that communicates that Ruental was not very surprised by Mittermeier's response.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Yeah.
But I do think that this is the kind of thing that Ruental has been doing repeatedly over and over and over again with just this thought of, where are you at, Mittermeier?
Yeah.
Where are you at, Mittermeier?
Right. It's not
Just
like
checking.
the pushy recruiting, but
Nope.
it's like the,
No.
hey,
Have you changed at all in your thoughts on this?
right.
If so, this is your moment to potentially see through it, because it's the kind of thing where if someone else was listening in,
Probably
their
wouldn't think much
conversation
of it.
would sound completely innocent.
Probably right up until Mittermeier is like these unpleasant, conversations, and then be like, wait,
Yeah,
what?
but again, I don't
Yeah.
think people would immediately understand even Mittermeier's response.
Nope.
I think the reason why Mittermeier even noticed it is the same reason that we as the audience noticed it,
because we know that that's on the table.
we know that it's
potentially
on the
for Ruenthal.
table, and it's something that stands out in the context of who Ruenthal is as a character.
Yeah.
But if someone doesn't know Ruenthal's person, they only know his station, really, and who he is in the military sense, they would look at that and go, yeah,
Makes sense,
we're
yeah.
really glad that you don't have to face
Two of them.
two
Right.
of them. Yeah.
And what? Do you think he was counting himself in those two? No.
No,
Why
no,
would
of course
anyone ever
not.
do that?
Yeah. But okay, then we get our just grand space battle. And this is the epic space opera stuff that just imagine if we got this in Star Wars.
I know.
Like there's no way. But even still, this is glorious. It is terrible. It is chilling.
And-
Steinmetz was the Brunhild's like original captain.
Yep.
And now seeing him die like this, that was something that hits really close to home for Reinhard as well. And yet you're right. It was essentially all over as like an afterthought. It was so quick that
Yep. And they have to, and it's not like they'd start mourning in the middle of a battle, right?
No.
But just the idea that, split decision, there
Yeah.
you go. Oh, shoot. Okay.
I really liked the utilization of technology though in this fight.
Oh, yeah.
The mines being something that slowed them down, but then Reinhard's fleet and Reinhard really realizing that, wait, we don't need to give them time. We
Yeah.
have such overwhelming numbers that we can plunge into the corridor
And-
using cephal particles to detonate massive openings with the mines. So we have 6 entry points. And there's
plenty.
no way that his fleet will be able to, or his fleets will be able to actually hold off all 6.
And we also got some, and alongside that, there's also the thing of, since we have so many forces, we can cycle shifts. They can't.
Yep.
They've got to be up and at it all the time.
Right.
And if the soldiers get tired, they'll start making mistakes.
Yep.
Right. They'll start getting sloppy. They'll start having some of the same issues that maybe
Yes,
we've been having as far as coordination.
True.
Because that's what Yang's has been banking everything on, right?
Yeah.
I'm a small unit. I can maneuver them quickly, effectively, and without complications.
Yeah, and to be fair, one of the things that I'm expecting to happen when that happens, because there's no way Reinhard has even come close to deploying like 30% of his fleet into effective fighting coordination here, is that they'll eventually have to actually deploy from the fortress on another side so they don't get shot at by the Imperial forces when they deploy from the fortress. Like, things will get so close to Iserlon that they'll have to do that.
Oh,
Like,
gotcha.
And I think the fact that
Okay.
Yang is not pushing them to come close to the fortress means that things are that potentially dire if he lets Reinhard get that close. Meaning
Yeah.
that Thor's hammer is not an end-it-all weapon. It is a
Right.
weapon that is a panic button
It's the-
of
it's
get
the-
away from our fortress.
Right, get away from our fortress and we win attrition battle. It's the
Right.
it's
But
because
that's just an attrition battle.
right, but like
not a-
that's the big thing that the Empire has going for it here, right? And
They
and
win the attrition battle.
they
this
win the
far from
attrition battle.
fortress.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or just in general because they have 6 times the numbers, or not quite, but way
yeah,
more, right?
yeah, most likely,
And,
yeah.
and the narrator mentioned that at this point Yang's forces had been reduced to under 20,000 ships. That is a big deal.
That is a very
That is
big
a
deal.
really big deal.
That's 2.3 fleets basically, or 1.9 fleets basically.
right.
It's
The point is that
yeah.
Reinhard, I think, has around 4 times Yang's forces at this point.
yeah, something
That
like
means that Yang, even if you're doing god tier maneuvering outside of Iserlon Fortress,
yeah.
you are losing this battle.
Yeah, this could still come down to you taking them down to 30,000 ships, and
Yeah.
you have 7,000, and it's like it's still
Yep.
you're still outnumbered 4-1.
And going down to 30,000 to 7,000 would be a goddamn miracle.
That would be a
That's
miracle.
13,000 for 50,000. That is ridiculous,
Yeah.
right? So really, you have to take those chances to go after Reinhard because that's the way you actually end this.
Which was crazy. They had a small fleet actually go on a just massive, just all in. We kill Reinhard. This is over.
And they got pretty much obliterated.
Pretty close, but they were wiped out. Like they said that 40% were left.
Yep, and I'm guessing
or was it 40% got destroyed?
40% were destroyed.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but still, that's if that fleet had 5,000 ships, suddenly 2,000 ships are gone. That's 10% of Yang's forces, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it was that big though.
It probably wasn't that big. It was probably
like 1,200 or something.
Yeah, but still, it's.
Yeah. But either way, we are in it. This was the first all-out engagement that they had though, which means we're probably going to get at least 2 more of these before there's any real permanent development in the fight.
Also, I want to point out something that is very important. They mentioned that Attenborough's fleet had lost only 300 or 400 ships.
100, yeah.
From that whole encounter with Bittenfeld and Fahrenheit.
Now, they reformed all the fleets and everything.
Sure. So they might have replenished their forces a bit.
Attenborough might just have ships from other fleets because they need to have a certain number in order to be effective in their maneuvers.
Right. Yeah. If one takes a pounding, it's like, okay, transfer 1,200 ships over there because a fleet of 800 ships isn't exactly going to be helpful.
Yeah. I think the important thing is that Yang is under 20,000 now.
Yeah.
He was not under 20,000 before the Bittenfeld Fahrenheit engagement.
Nope.
So I'm guessing he lost potentially around 2,500.
I think I remember them saying that he had something like 25,000 ships.
Okay.
I can't remember, but it was somewhere. I think it was somewhere around.
Yeah, we could
there.
go back and check the old details on that. But the point was that I think that
it was a much more than a fleet. You know. Yeah. Like full on big ass fleet.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, but guys, that's another part added into the fight in general for Iserlohn.
Yep.
Reinhard, where's your head at? Mariendorf, are you going to see what's going on here? Because we kind of also are a bit in a toss up with regards to what's actually going on here in his head.
And then Ruenthal, that plan that you put forward, that Mittermeier and Reinhard both looked over and they were like, "Yeah, this is good stuff."
It still resulted in this.
Pretty much at every point, it seemed to go wrong. So.
So is that just Yang's battle prowess and the fact that the mines were something that they probably should have taken a little bit slower and just given them the time so that they could deploy a larger fleet?
You get that one rest after the initial encounter, but with Bittenfeld and Fahrenheit. But now we're just going to go through, make it so that we have this line. All the space behind us is totally free. We can maneuver however we need to, and you don't get any rest from here on out.
Right, and you are never leaving the corridor from this side ever again. Like that. This is our territory.
Yeah, because that's the other thing that that's curious. If there's a bunch of different channels that don't connect through the corridor, then theoretically you could have Yang's fleet go into one of the corridors through the mines and everything, and you can't cut him off except at the endpoints, right? It's just, okay, chase him, head him off, whatever, but you can't just...
Dread it, run from it.
Right. You can't just have your forces that are in one of the other, mine tunnels just turn and go meet him.
Nope.
So,
yeah. Y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there. And all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.